Actors, we've all got issues, so let's talk about them. You're listening to Actors with Issues, a self-help podcast for actors, by actors. Hello, ladies, gents, and non-binary friends. Welcome back to another episode of Actors with Issues, the self-help podcast for actors, by actors. Featuring special guests from TV, film, and Broadway, we take a deep dive into the world of entertainment and discuss what it means to be an actor today. I'm your host, Juan Ayala, and today I'm joined by an actor and performer that you will see in the upcoming reimagining of Ang Lee's 1993 rom-com, The Wedding Banquet, in theaters in April 18th. It's Bobo. Lei, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited to be on this show with you.
Happy to have you. And I want to go back a bit before we dive into the movie, which I absolutely loved. I will gush about it later. But born and raised in Vancouver, I understand that you did a lot as a kid, from sports to dance to a love of fantasy and nerdy shit, just like me, and storytelling and all of that. So at what point was there a click that you wanted to pursue a career in the arts? I feel like everyone sort of has that little moment that they're like, oh, I can actually pursue this as a job and not just sort of as an interest.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that being from Vancouver, we're really fortunate out here. There's a lot of movies and TV shows that are being filmed. So I would see these, film sets out here all the time, and I would be like, oh, like people are actually working on these things in our city. So I, looked into it, took some acting classes, and I realized, oh yeah, there are a lot of working actors in this city. And I got to meet a lot of amazing people, and it made me realize that like this is an actual real career that I could choose to pursue.
And was there an early project? Because I know that you did have a few like co-star roles and whatnot in these amazing shows that filmed in Vancouver. To name a few, Legends of Tomorrow, The Flash. I love both of those so much. I'm so sad they're not around anymore. But and The Irrational more recently. But what do you remember from those early experiences working on these like big productions as some of your first roles?
It blew my mind. Even though I only had like one line on one of them, showing up to even just like to the production office and getting to see where people work and the costumes and all these different departments that come together to make a movie or a TV show. The Flash I showed up to the Vancouver Film Studios, and it was this huge studio lot, and it was so exciting because I just like couldn't believe that I was there, even though I was only in for like a day. It was magical that I got to experience that and see how a set runs and works.
And if you weren't pursuing the arts in any way, whether it's acting or dance, was there another field of work you kind of saw yourself going into?
I love watching space documentaries and randomly fish documentaries. So I think I would make a really good journalist in these
Oh,
very
cool.
specific fields.
Yeah. And was there a specific performance or experience you had on a set, or even if it was just like a particular audition that you walked away having learned something new? I mean, I'm a firm believer that there's something to be learned with any role, whether it is sort of that one line, or a supporting role in a movie like in The Wedding Banquet. But which performance sort of stands out as something that you were like, oh, that's how that works?
You know what is amazing? Uniquely to the wedding banquet, when I first read for this character, what I learned was that like I really just showed up as myself as Kendall in this
Mhm.
specific audition. And I had read the breakdown and I had my just to kind of get a feel for what the character was. But at the end of the day, I really think that because I brought myself to this character so much and I did this audition, Andrew called me back in person to meet him and our producers, Joe and Caroline, to do the audition again. And what was amazing was that because I was so myself, it inspired him to rewrite the character.
Mhm.
And that to me, it taught me that like when I bring myself to these characters, whether it's a supporting lead role like Kendall in The Wedding Banquet, or if it's a one-liner on something else, the more of me that I bring to it, the more people love to watch it. The more
Yeah.
they love to see that part of you that shines through these characters.
I love Andrew On's work. I absolutely loved Fire Island. I got to see that one a little bit early before it actually came out. And yeah, just hearing how collaborative he is in that process is so cool because not everyone is like that. They're very some folks, understandably, screenwriters, directors, even actors, are very precious with their work, and they're like, nope, this is what it is. We're not changing a word, a period, a comma, anything. But to hear that he saw that in you and wanted to expand the role and whatnot, that's awesome. That's so sort of comforting to hear, that folks are still collaborative like that. Um, and sort of, going into the wedding banquet, you guys have an amazing ensemble cast. I mean, seriously, and from so many diverse groups and diverse backgrounds, not just sort of culturally, but also just in what they do. You have Oscar winner Lily Gladstone for like this amazing dramatic role that she did. You have comedian and Bowen Yang and Kelly Marie Tran, who's done so much amazing work, and the whole cast really. But yeah, what was it like working with this wonderful ensemble, and yeah, especially in this now expanded role from what you first auditioned with?
You know, these are the monarchs of the industry. They are so, so, so amazing and talented. And I couldn't believe that I got to work with my idols.
Yeah.
I'm still in shock and in awe. Um, but the most beautiful thing about working with them is that they're such amazing people.
Mm.
I felt so loved and cared for by each and every single one of them, and they're such great, great, great friends of mine. And to experience this movie with them specifically, I think has been, I feel so grateful, to have that level of support and love from them and to learn so much working with them at the same time. And I had so many of my first experiences with them. This is my first big movie. It's my first time ever acting with people of this caliber and as it being on this kind of set um, for more than just a couple days. And yeah, and to be supported so well and for them to be a part of my journey has been so amazing.
And I'm curious, with having worked with these wonderful folks, mentorship comes up a lot on our show, especially recently. I feel like so many actors have, and sometimes whether it is sort of like a direct mentor or someone that sort of takes you under their wing, or just the way someone carries himself on set, leads by example. Does anyone come to mind you want to give like a little shout out to, of like, oh, that's what I want to be like when I'm the lead on a project?
I feel so so lucky to say this, but Kelly Marie Tran has been that person for me.
Mm.
I'm Vietnamese Canadian and she's Vietnamese American, and we grew up with quite similar experiences and we relate to each other so much. And Kelly sees a lot of herself in me, and she's been so supportive. And everything that I go through, in these beginning stages of being a working actor, Kelly has really supported me and shown me um, how to navigate these things. And she's brought me so much comfort in, I feel there are times where I feel overwhelmed with, all these new things that I'm going through and all these experiences, and to have Kelly's support and mentorship through it all, um, I'm so grateful for her.
And working with Andrew, what would you say was sort of a big takeaway of seeing his process? And do you have any interest in one day maybe writing or directing, producing, sort of expanding your skill set in the industry?
Andrew has so much trust in his actors, and he really creates such a beautiful, safe space for us to play and to explore. And I think the most amazing thing is that we always stay so curious in our scenes. We're just like, oh, and one of his favorite things to say after every take is he'll say, I wonder, I wonder if, Kendall in this moment was feeling
Mm.
like this. I wonder if this. And that's the kind of the way that he likes to navigate things on set, and it really just keeps us in this creative flow, and it feels so safe for us to do things that are things that we are out of our comfort zone, maybe, or something that we didn't even think of. And it comes out so beautifully because it feels so collaborative with Andrew. And he really does inspire me, if one day in the future, if I ever get to direct something, I really would love to take after Andrew and create that kind of environment for everybody that I'm working with.
I feel like especially in a comedy, in a romantic comedy like this, it's not necessarily as like high stakes each scene as it might be in a drama. So you want that light environment, that collaborativeness and whatnot. Is that a word, collaborativeness? Um, uh, yeah, that's again, that's so great to hear that his style sort of just makes you feel creative and all of that. That's, that he sounds very much like sort of an actor's director, you know.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
And I'm curious, given your martial arts background, your dance background, um, is that something you hope to be able to portray on screen one day, whether it's doing like an action movie, something with Marvel or something sci-fi, even a dance movie? I feel like in the 2000s we had a lot of dance movies, and I'm sad that they're not around so much anymore because they were such sort of, little cultural touchstones for our generation. I feel like
Yeah.
everyone watched Step Up and all that stuff. But yeah, is that something that you hope to be able to portray on screen one day?
Totally. I would love to, being able to dance and fight, I would love to do something in the Marvel realm because,
Mhm.
I think Marvel kind of blends action and a bit of comedy, right? And I grew up with a lot of the Marvel comics and
Mhm.
whatnot. It would be so cool to be like an alternate universe Spider-Girl or something like that. I think that'd be so cool. Um, yeah, and with dance movies, like I'm such a huge fan of all the Step Up movies, and I I hope they make a comeback. That would be crazy, Like we're getting some musicals. Maybe we can get some more like street dance battle type movies. That'd be so cool.
Again, sort of talking about your special skills, when I'm sure that the special skill section of your resume is like a third of the page, given how much you have in your background. But is there any specific skill that you feel is maybe not talked about enough with acting or with performing that has really helped you in your performing and in your like day-to-day life?
Yeah, I mean, the skill that resonates with me most throughout my whole life has, always been dance because it's like this physical art form and expression that, I've been doing ever since I was young. So it really carries, the physicality of it really carries through into acting and to, many aspects of my life of just feeling comfortable in my body and being able to express myself in these ways. So I don't know if that's like the most, hidden talent of mine, but I think it's the one that really uh means so much to me.
Given the name of our show, Actors with Issues, you did mention before we started recording sort of this feeling of audition anxiety, especially early on. I feel like so many actors, like, if especially if you're even if you're in training and you go to like a conservatory or you get your your bachelor's degree in the arts or whatever, they teach you how to have like a great monologue, you know how to break down a script, but there might be one audition class just so that you get like the hang of it, but it's so hard to avoid that sense of like nerves and like crushing the pages in your hand and sweating and trying not to like be shiny on camera and all of that. Like there's so much that goes into it, but what have you learned sort of over these several years of auditioning and booking, and what's sort of been a key takeaway from those experiences?
I think early on in my acting auditioning experiences was that I went in there really hoping that I would book the job. And I was thinking like, oh, this is what they're looking for. I would try to give them what I think that they're looking for. And I would just get nervous and get anxiety about, like, what are they looking for? I don't know what they're looking for. And I think that's something that really stressed me out. And I think it just added to my anxiety very early on. But as I continued to audition and continue to, meet more people and take classes and meet other working actors and kind of get into my rhythm of just like, instead of trying to guess what it is that they are looking for,
Mhm.
I started to get more comfortable bringing more parts of myself and giving them something that that I see, that they might not see. And I think that's what I did with Kendall, was that
Yeah.
I gave them something that was so me and so, off the page and off what the breakdown originally said. And it really made made Andrew and our producers be like, oh, that's even better, So it's given me a lot more confidence in, after having this experience of bringing more and more of myself. And I think now when I go into auditions, I'm a lot less anxious because I have that foundation within me, like, as I am, um, to deliver what it is that I want to do and then have other people witness it.
And with this career, um, there are so many sort of peaks and valleys. Folks, in an ideal world, it's like a snowball effect, and you book one job, work begets work, and the sort of the trajectory of our career sort of like looks like an upward slope, but it's more like a pulse. It's like you book something and you're doing great, and then there's a lull, and then up and down. So how do you stay motivated throughout those sort of like dry spells in between jobs, or do you sort of have like this is how I felt at least like sort of the biggest acting job I'd booked. It was like a week-long contract on the show, and it was the first time I'd done that. And on like day four, I was like, wait, no, I want to do more of this though. Like, how do I, so
Yeah.
it's like you have that sense of dread of like, wait, when is the next time I'm gonna be able to do this? So how do you stay motivated during that time and just try not to get into your head?
Yeah, I try to not get into my head. I try to fill my time with things that inspire me. So, you can do things like, take classes or you can write your own things and shoot your own things. But what I do, if I'm not, actively, you know, doing that kind of work, is I like to stay inspired by just watching movies and watching things that I really, really enjoy. I get so inspired, especially for me, when you go into a movie theater and you get to see it all and like, have the full experience, I think it just keeps me motivated. I'm just like, wow, like people are making such amazing movies and it is only in due time that I will get to be, back on set and meet amazing people and tell amazing stories again. So just being present and being in the moment of just appreciating that art is always being made. And there is also, I think for me, beauty in just stillness of like, I don't always have to be doing something. I can just
Mhm.
simply enjoy this moment in time where, if there's a strike or whatever I can do to just take care of myself, um, whatever that may look like. For me, movies and video games. And I think that's what keeps me motivated because, it'll come back. And I just put my trust in that, it will show up and I will be back on set again. And um, I have beautiful stories within me that are meant to be told. So it's just
Mm.
in due time.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. And as we start to wrap up with the wedding banquet, what do you hope audiences take away? I didn't get to gush about the movie yet, so let me do that really quick. But I just love seeing this story of queer joy. As important as the stories are of coming out journeys and tales of acceptance and things like that, like it's nice to just have just pure joy. This isn't
Yeah.
about suffering and or sort of like getting thrown out by your family and things like that. And again, that is such a real experience for so many people, but it's just so nice to see like, oh, there's just four queer people, they're in happy relationships and there's just this funny debacle that they're gonna get thrown into. But I just loved it so much. I'm so happy to see stories like this continue to be told. But yeah, what do you hope that audiences take away from the movie?
I love that you brought up queer joy because I think that is something that our movie, really, really shows. And you're right, it really shines through that, there are a lot of beautiful moments that we should recognize, as difficult as being queer is and all the things that we have to navigate. I think that there is happiness. And I hope that when people watch this movie, the people that you surround yourself with, your version of happiness matters, and you can build it however you want, however that looks like to you. If you want to live in a house with four queer people and have babies, that's that's amazing.
Mm.
So I really hope that people take that away, is that you can choose your version of happiness. And, we're living in a time where I think it's more possible that we can do something like that.
Before we go, we always do end with a quick game. So just choose a number between one, two, and three, and that'll be the game we play.
Okay, two.
Two. Two is called For the First Time. It's a game of life and career firsts. So what is the first movie that you ever saw in theaters?
Pokemon 2000.
That is an amazing choice. Oh my God. Were you crying by the end of that like everyone
It was
else?
so good.
Oh my
I think
God.
I was like 5 years old. I
Yeah.
don't even know. But I was like, I was blown away. I couldn't believe how good it was. And I
Yeah.
was like, I honestly probably didn't even understand the entire movie, but I was definitely very affected by it.
Yeah. What was your first ever acting role?
Legends of Tomorrow. I played a K-pop star.
What was your first non-acting job that you ever had?
My first non-acting job I had, I worked at Domino's Pizza. I think I was 16.
Mm. Where was your first flight to?
First flight was to California to go to Disneyland when I was 5.
And the first person you call when you book a job.
My mom.
First time you saw yourself on TV.
First time I was off South. Oh, I think it was Legends of Tomorrow. When that
Mm.
episode aired, I was so excited. And I like don't have cable, so I was just calling all my friends like, "Do any of you guys have cable? I'm trying to watch this episode."
Watch party. Uh,
Yeah.
what was the first time you were starstruck?
Honestly, probably coming on to the wedding banquet. I think I was in my hair and makeup trailer, and then Lily Gladstone came in, and it was my first time seeing her, and we were beside each other, and I was like, oh, oh my God, that's crazy.
Your first audition that you ever went on?
First audition I went on, I auditioned for Ghostbusters Afterlife, and this was
Nice.
pre-COVID, and it was
Yeah.
in person, and I was really nervous.
And lastly, in 10 words or less, what advice would you give to a young actor?
Make a lot of acting friends and make some fun little projects. Shoot it with your iPhone, write some fun scripts, and watch a lot of movies.
Mm, awesome. Well, Bobo, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with us today. And again, huge congrats on the Wedding Banquet. I cannot wait for people to see this. For anyone that wants to find you on social, where can they find you?
You can find me on Instagram at Bobo J Lay.
And you can see Bobo in the Wedding Banquet in theaters everywhere, April 18th. Thanks for joining us. Actors with Issues is hosted and produced by Juan Ayala. If you enjoyed today's episode, subscribe to our YouTube channel or on the podcast platform you're listening to. Visit actorswithissues.com for exclusive news and reviews, and give us a follow on Instagram and TikTok at Actors with Issues.